I'll do my best. All right. Hello, everyone. I am Jordan Emmerfall, and I am the UI Reach Academic Coordinator, and I'm very excited to run through this evening with you, but more excited for the experience that you will have and hopefully helping out with that experience. I may see you around, but you may not see me again. It's possible. So, but you'll be working with our UI Reach instructors, which is awesome. Wow, this is my first time being directly involved with the UI Reach track for the TLC. With the TLC, we have had the UI Reach track for a handful of years. We're just adjusting what it looks like and what that experience is like for you. And we thought it would be best for your experience to be in the classroom, since that's where most of you are hoping to end up eventually. And so we're going to do our best to provide an experience that will give you some unique experience and one that doesn't exist on many college campuses. So
Is that me, or is that coming from
One Direction? That's like a boy band, right?
Yeah.
I really want to know why One Direction. This might seem like I'm deflecting. I've never listened to One Direction. It's interesting. Okay. I don't think, because most of you will be spending your time, it's likely that you'll be the only one, or maybe there might be one other person with you. I don't think we necessarily need to go around and do intros tonight. So I'll just give a brief intro on myself, and then also explain what you might need to know for this experience. And we'll do a little bit of discussion about UI Reach for those of you that are unfamiliar. Talk about what your experience will be like, and then give you a brief little training on things that you can do or things that you should know to feel like you are comfortable and productive on your first few visits, and then quickly review the expectations and where to go from here. So you'll all get a chance to sign up or indicate what your schedule is, so that we can find a time that works for you moving forward. And hopefully we will cover all of that in the next 45 minutes or so. So as I mentioned, I'm the academic coordinator for the program, which is just another word for boring old administrator, washed up teacher. So I went to school here and I got my master's here in the College of Ed, and I taught high school for several years in Kansas City, and then came back here with the UI Reach program. And I taught for a few years and then got old and moved behind the desk. And now I work with our instructors and students to provide support and do a number of administrative tasks. So you'll see me popping into classrooms every now and then. I still get in there and observe or help instructors as needed, and or just stop by to say hello. So hopefully I'll see you, and my goal will be, especially in the first time or two that you are in the classroom, that I can visit and give a little intro and just a welcome there. So let's start with a little UI Reach video, because it's a lot more fun to hear about it from someone other than me, right? I think Ashley tested our audio.
REAP program is a 2-year certificate program for students who have an array of disabilities. That program prepares students for life in the big wide world, getting out there, finding jobs, finding friends, finding places to stay, becoming independent, and contributing in their more self-society.
I'm a lot social, like I meet a lot of new people over here. I feel like more independent than I was from a year ago.
The UI Reach program helped me learn how to live independently, manage my own money, and plan a schedule for my life.
Most students grow in their social interactions and their confidence to just know that they can accomplish goals in their future.
I'm making a lot of friends, and I like it. It's fun.
I think I found that strive for willpower that I really needed. Now it's like I feel like I can do anything because they're giving me the opportunity to go out and do anything.
Everybody's always saying, here's what you're not going to be able to do because of your disability. And I think the REACH program kind of flips that on its head, right? It says, here's what you're going to do. Here's all the things that are possible. Staff is phenomenal. They are able to connect with the students, connect with the families, and the families know the support system is there.
And they helped me develop like these job skills that not a lot of people, even outside of the REACH program, are aware of.
The biggest goal is that they're comfortable in their abilities and being independent in the workplace, no matter where they go in the future.
Compared to students who don't attend the post-secondary education program like UIReach, our students are 4 times more likely to get employment.
I enjoy it a lot. It just makes me happy and like being proud to say that I'm a Hawkeye.
We're at a great university as well. University of Iowa is amazing, but it's also a Big Ten university, which means awesome sports, awesome culture, awesome music, awesome arts.
When you look at the opportunities that have opened up for the students of this program, it is remarkable.
You really have to take chances. It's one of the oldest programs, and it's the best.
This is the best kept secret in Iowa and in the nation.
It's not just a program, it's a university, it's a lifestyle. You want to become a Hawkeye because this is where it's at.
So a little bit of a marketing angle there, but I think that video does a nice job of giving an overview of our program and does it a little more pizzazz than what I can offer. So I'll sort of give you the basics. You know, of course, there's a lot I could go into, but I'll try to hit the need to knows with you so that you sort of understand what it is you're doing. I'm guessing some of you are familiar with either UIReach a little bit or its students. Have any of you had direct or maybe indirect involvement with the program or students? Yeah. And so we are part of the College of Ed. And so like John said in our video, we are one of the oldest and best post-secondary transition programs in the country. So we started about 12 years ago. Not many post-secondary transition programs existed on college campuses at that time. And post-secondary transition program usually means it's students who have exited high school in most cases and are in a program where they are working on skills to help them transition from school to independent living, or in some cases, interdependent living if they may need support beyond that. And so you may know of transition programs that existed at your high school, maybe. Sometimes they're housed at high school, students who maybe have graduated or are on a extended graduation plan, maybe stay a few years beyond their 18th birthday and can receive services up until they're 21 or depending on the state you're in. Those are transition programs. Usually post-secondary transition programs exist outside of a high school setting and in some cases are at a community college, maybe an area education association, or in some occasions at a larger university. We are still one of the only residential programs that exist on a large university campus. And especially when we began, we were definitely one of the only programs like ours to exist. So we have 62 students this year, which is our largest class ever. We're super excited about that. We have about 20 or close full-time staff, and those staff work within our 3 main focus areas, which are academics, career and transition, and student life and engagement. So Your experience, for the most part, will be within the academic core area. And that's what I spend most of my time doing, is helping to coordinate that. Career and transition is, well, actually, let me rewind it a little bit. When we say academics at UI Reach, that means that our students are taking mostly classes that are taught by UI Reach instructors. Most of those classes they receive UI Reach credit, but they're not university credit bearing courses. So they can't transfer those to another university, and they're not degree seeking credits. So they're looking to earn a university Board of Regents endorsed certificate with the university. In addition to that, our students do have the option to take classes at the greater university for credit or audit. And so that is an opportunity that our students have as well. So while that won't be something you'll be involved with, you may see our students, like I know we have, I won't create any HIPAA situations here. We may have or have in the past had students in the tech, it's not called tech in the classroom anymore. Back, it was many years ago, but I'm old. So whatever the technology classes that John Akrazolu and Evans teach, we have students in that class as well. So it's possible that you've taken classes with our students and weren't even aware of it. So that's a great opportunity for our students. One of the big pushes for us is to get them integrated into the university. The reason they want to be here is to be on college campus, just like, same reason that many of you are here. And so we want to provide that experience for them as much as we can as well. So that's sort of academics. Career and transition, our students they take career classes, sort of in a similar way that you all eventually take classes that are specifically geared towards a vocation. So for most of you in this case, it'd be teaching, right? Our students identify areas that they're interested in. And so they take classes where either they're learning about different careers or they're specifically taking classes in a group of careers that they're learning skills about how to succeed on the job site eventually once they're done at UI Reach. In addition to our classes, they all complete internships in years 2 through 4. And so they're out in the community, sometimes on campus, sometimes around our city, Coralville, or wherever. And they complete an internship anywhere between 6 and 10 hours a week with a little bit of support from our staff and the internship site. So that's a huge piece, as you saw in the video, for many of our students. And then student life and engagement is anything that happens outside of those two areas. So anything non-classroom. Our students live in the res hall. Right now we're in Stanley, Burge, and Mayflower. So live in the res hall. We have UI Reach RAs that provide support during some hours. But our students have access to any and all things that you all do, rec centers, clubs, orgs, you name it. As you might guess, this is the most popular part of our program and one that many of our students come from around the country to participate in, because like I said, there are not a lot of programs on large campuses where they can engage in those types of activities. So I did skip one piece. We're a 4-year program with a 2-year option. So some of our students stay for all 4 years. Some will exit after 2. And so most of our students we're finding are preferring or leaning towards staying for 4 years just to get the full experience. And we have students actually most of our students are from out of state. So we're about 65-35 out of state to in-state. We have students from all over the country. So. All right, so I'll spend a few minutes talking about the philosophies that we operate from and sort of what you might see in the classroom and why you might see it, right? And then I'll also give you a few more specific strategies that you might be able to use when you're in the classroom completing your volunteer experience. So when we are either teaching classes, writing curriculum, developing activities, you name it, anything we do, we sort of keep these things in mind. One is self-direction. And so our goal is to give students as much opportunity as they can to make choices about their life, just in the same way that you want to have control over which TLC track you signed up for, which classes you sign up for, what your major is, right? we want to provide those same sort of opportunities for our students as well. And so when we're teaching or when we are having students sign up for classes, we try to give them as much choice as possible. So you'll see some of that in the classroom. In a smaller way, how it might pertain to your experience, which we'll get a little bit more into in a minute in providing classroom support, is just like you all are learn or have different abilities in different ways, right? Our students have the same. And so it could be, as you are starting to work with students or get to know them, ask them how they need help or how do you like to be helped, right? And they have received varying amounts of help throughout their life. This will not be a new question for them, but it's a good way for you to establish a rapport with them and that they understand, hey, you know, I'm here to help you in the way that you want to be helped, right? And they might tell you, I don't need help right now. And, you know, you just say, cool, I'll catch you later, right? And so, or they may give you a very specific response, which will help you know sort of what to do. So it's sort of a little way that you can empower self-direction with them. Growth, of course, just like any of you, they're here to learn. And so our job as support staff, instructors, whomever, is to help them find the answers on their own, right? And so if they're working on an assignment or completing, setting a goal or doing something out in the community, instead of doing it for them, we want to try and guide them in a way that they're accessing that knowledge, material, process on their own. So a lot of times, maybe you'll have a student ask a question or how to do something, and instead of giving them that answer, maybe ask them what they remember about the directions or what it is they need help with. And those are lifelong learning skills that we can help promote in those students as we help them out. Sometimes we don't think of it that way, but those are easy things that we can do to make a big difference. One thing we always want to do is focus on goals and positivity. It's easy especially if you're in a field where students have maybe what some might consider deficits in different areas, to focus on those. But we do is just focus on varying abilities and help provide supports to give students the guidance and support that they might need to achieve their goals. So instead of thinking about a student's behavior or their academic abilities in a deficit-oriented way, we're trying to think about what we can do to help them achieve what their next goal is. And so we're always trying to celebrate the little steps of success. You know, just like any of us, we always appreciate positive feedback, right? And so that's something we try and promote with our students and those that are helping them. I already sort of mentioned this one, individualized support. So all of our students are different. All of our students have different preferences when it comes to receiving help, how they do on their work. And so we want to make sure that we are adjusting to those students. And then overall, learning and advocacy, of course, is a focus area of ours as we program all of these things for our students. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share our vision. And a vision is when you are a company or an organization, right? So vision is where you want to be. And so this statement here is very brief, but hopefully captures what we want to be as a program for our students. And so what I would like for you all to do is sort of think about that vision, what it says to you. So if you read that, like, oh, how am I interpreting this, right? And then also, what does it mean for us as we support students, okay? So the UI Reach vision is empowered and self-directed individuals who are included in communities that embrace people of all abilities. So what stands out to you about the vision? You could pick a word or a phrase or a theme. Yeah.
I think the communities and embrace, like that kind of speaks to me with the nature of the program, being that like we are on a college campus, we're in Iowa City, surrounded by a huge student population. And I think that's, you know, important that there's visibility and that like the Reach students can get experience
right
in this atmosphere.
Yeah, no doubt, right? So that's our goal as a program, to provide that experience, right? And then in a sense, actually, I'll pause on that because you've already started to answer number 2 here. So we'll come back to that. What about anybody else? Any other words stand out to you? you might guess, if you get in the mission and vision. Go ahead.
I was just going to say what stood out to me is that these individuals are included in communities. And so I just think about how, as a general education teacher in the future, I'll have students with special needs in my class a lot. It's important. And I think it's mandated by the state that they're included in general education as much as possible. So.
Right on. Yeah. And so we're as a program trying to continue working on including those, but like you mentioned, including those students in your classrooms will be huge. And so that's actually part of how I got into this line of work. I was a general ed teacher as well, but I was at a very large high school in Kansas City, and so they found that my sort of the style that I used when I taught social sciences, so it was history and or related things, right? Psych, soc. I had a pretty open curriculum, so I allowed for a lot of choice, and it was student driven, and that worked well with students of all abilities. And so just by it, and that wasn't even necessarily at the forefront of my mind, was including students of varying needs, but just that all learners are different, right? And so because of that, I ended up with a pretty heavy load of students that were doing push-in or receiving supports. And I realized that was sort of something that I enjoyed and that worked well with. So that's sort of a little bit of how I ended up here. So sort of embracing that can really provide, I think, not only as you think about providing that experience for others, I think if you attach yourself to that idea early on, you're going to find that you'll enjoy your experiences in all of your classrooms a lot more, because you're sort of opening up for working with anybody. All right, very good. So what does that mean for us? I was going to jump there on something that you said, but what is that? What are the little things that we can do as classroom supports? And maybe we'll talk, instead of thinking about, I guess you could talk about your life years from now, right, when you're teaching. Or you could talk about what you could do now as someone that might be in a classroom with another student to help promote some of these words that we see up here.
I mean, to kind of go off of the, embracing building community and, each thing with education is like positive modeling and just being very, I'm a very just positive person. Walk around, it's hard as hell under the mask, but I walk around with a smile most of the time. But like building, friendships, demonstrating leadership qualities, things like that, can help support more of that. When you're in a class, at least for me, I'm going to learn a lot more when I'm collaborating with people than from an instructor.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I think the more, and so we're going to talk about UDL. I'm sure some of you have either learned that in your classes or gone to, I know there's another workshop on UDL, right? One of the columns of UDL is engagement. To me, that's the most important one, because if you are not engaged with your students, the other two don't matter, right? You want to make sure that you have them hooked, that they want to learn for themselves. Sometimes you might want them to learn for you, right? Because there are times that we lose intrinsic motivation, but engagement is a huge thing that can really go a long way. Very good. Any others? Thoughts? That's fine, because I want to stay on pace here. So, okay. So I want to give you a little bit of a feel for what it is you'll be doing for your 10 hours this semester and what to expect. So many of you have been, you came up through high school and probably were in classrooms with students receiving support in the classroom, right? An easy way to think about some of the things you may be doing will be akin to the support professionals that were with those people in your high school. We call them, I use that flashy term, success ambassadors early on, right? But we have a number of ways that our students receive support. Most of our students that are here, because of the residential nature of our program, their adaptive behavior skills decision-making skills and general behaviors are such that they don't need one-to-one support the entire time. We do have some students whose academic abilities might require them to receive one-to-one support just so they can keep up with the pace of the class. But generally speaking, you will be in a classroom providing support to either a couple students or maybe just popping around to any student that might need help as a support person in that room. Each classroom is a little different, so I won't get too specific here. Your instructor that you're with will give you more guidance on what it is you will do in that classroom. For example, the first one I said is providing a student assistance as needed. That's because it's hard to predict what support students might need. For example, the first 3 weeks here, a lot of students come back to campus and their EduRoam login credentials got wonky, right? Or they need help. Maybe the instructor's walking them through how to log into the Google Classroom site, and they might need a little support, making sure they got the alphanumeric code right, things like that, right? And so sometimes it's just those little execution steps that students might get hung up on as they're going through class, and so they might raise their hand. And so one thing you might be doing, if your instructor asks you to, would be walking around helping the students that raise their hand with sort of just general needs there. Giving one-to-one support. As I mentioned, your instructor that you're with will help let you know what your role will be. It could be they ask you to just sit next to a student each time and they say, hey, you're going to sit with John, and your sort of primary job will be to just help John make sure he's on pace and working on some of the stuff that we're doing. If he's doing well, you can pop around to the other students and help them out as needed. But it could be that you're working in a one-to-one role, or you might just be bouncing around and helping anybody that needs it. Most likely it's going to be the latter and just helping out generally. And you'll get a feel for what that's like. We have some classes that are pretty small, 8 to 10. We also have some classes that are in the mid-20s. So if you are in one of the larger classrooms, you will likely not be the only person in there. We do have classroom associates that we hire, undergraduate students that are in the classroom helping out. And then we also have a practicum class where students that are pursuing their disability studies certificate are placed in a class that I teach and then complete 100 minutes a week in one of our classrooms providing support. So a little plug there. If you like your experience as your 10 hours here, because most of you have a year or two left, right? Yeah, okay. EDTL 4967 is the class. It's open to anyone that wants to take it. And it's a 2 credit hour class where almost all of your work and assignments are just participation and support in one of our classrooms. So if you're interested in that after this, please sign up and or contact me if you'd like to be in it. So not a lot of papers. You don't have to sit and listen to a bunch of lectures like this. It's just showing up to class and helping out. So work time. As you might guess, so I'm up here talking a lot, right? If I were grading me on this, I would not give myself a good grade on me providing engaging experiences for you all learning, because this is generally not a good way to teach, despite you probably getting it in a lot of your college classrooms, right? But because I only have 50 minutes here or so to do training with you, it's a little bit more of a sit and get than you'll experience in our classes. So most of our instructors will give some instruction, do some modeling, and then the students will be working either individually or in groups. And that will be a lot of the time that you will be in action helping them out. So helping those students as they're working on those assignments. If needed, reminding students of what the directions are. Usually they'll be up on the screen. Sometimes it just takes a friendly reminder. Okay, let's walk through those. Step A, right? Let's do step A. And so just helping them review those directions and modeling what that might look like. It could be, in some situations, you'd be in a small group and maybe you're doing some of those same activities with them. Okay, our first step here is it could be a social skills class. We're working on small talk, and so we're going to ask each other how our weekends were, right? And so you maybe just guide a small group in something like that. So in any of these situations, your instructor that is teaching the class will help you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing. All of our classes are different. but they'll give you some guidance on what that'll look like for you. Okay. One concept or one theme that you might see in a lot of your classes is what we call I do, we do, you do. And I'm going to go through this one a little bit more specifically because it's very likely something that you will see, even though our instructors may not use that term specifically. You're going to see it play out probably multiple times in the classroom. Okay. And this is a good, whether you're teaching special education or not, this is a good practice to get into. And also a very helpful one as you're trying to engage students and make sure that they understand what it is they're supposed to be doing next. So what I'm going to do is explain what I do, we do, you do is, and then I would like you to think about what you might be able to do as a support person in each of those steps to help out our students. So as you might infer, the I do refers to the instructor. So they might be doing a task on one of our classes is personal finance. So maybe they're working on budgeting that week, and maybe they're showing students how to enter some of their purchases on a spreadsheet, or look at their expenses on a like their mobile app, right? And they're going to try and add those up and make sure that they're under their budget. So the first thing our instructor might do is show the students what they're going to be doing up on the screen. So they're modeling the behavior or the whatever the classroom activity is going to be. So that's the I do, referring to the instructor. Okay. What is something? Actually, you know what? Let me stick a pin in that. Let me explain all three of them, and then we'll come back and you can get a feel for what you think might be helpful to do during those times. The we do, as you might guess, is the instructor does either another example or the same example, and while the instructor is walking through it, the students are also walking through that same exercise. So maybe on that time, the students pull up their own app budget and they're writing down the numbers, doing the same thing as the instructor. Okay. So you're synchronously walking through whatever the activity is or assignment is that you're doing. Follow me so far? Okay. You do, as you might guess, would be then you, the students, or in this case, our UI Reach students, working on the assignment on their own. Okay. Another phrase or another term in ed classes that you might hear is gradual release of responsibility, which means we're starting with the instructor having all the responsibility and knowledge. Eventually, they're imparting some of that on you all, and then slowly the students start to take on more of that responsibility in completing the assignment, and then eventually they're doing it all completely on their own. So this is just another little catchphrase for gradual release of responsibility. So this is something you will see in different classes of ours, carried out in a number of different ways, okay? I wanted to share it with you because it'll be important for you to know what can I do during each of those stages to help out our students, because they're each very different, right? As you might guess, the I do portion is probably the one where it's more difficult for you all to get involved, right? But how can you think of any ways that you might, as a support person in a classroom, be a helper in an I do situation? So we're talking about an instructor standing up here, giving directions on whatever the assignment is. Is there anything that you might need to do during that time? Yeah.
If the teacher needed help with the modeling or modeling the activity in
Yeah.
a way, or it was like a group assignment.
Very good.
That they were going to be doing later.
Yeah, we do have one class that's called social skills. And so something they might be doing is a role play. So maybe they would ask you to come up and be the other person that they're conversating with, or right that day. Yes.
Just making sure that the students are able to like follow what the teacher is doing.
Yeah.
As far as giving directions.
Right.
So aiding anyone that needs help keeping track of what the directions are.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that we do a lot of times is all the students will get the assignment ahead of time and the directions. So the instructor might be going through it with them on the screen, and they might have it up on their own screen as well, right? So maybe they need help, it wouldn't open, or their internet won't work. So it could be the student, instead of trying to stop the class and ask the instructor to stop and help, you might be able to walk around and help that student so that the instructor can continue going, right? Most likely, those are the two that are going to happen during this time. There won't always be a lot of other things that are going on. So very good. Okay, we do. What might be some things that you all could do during the we do portion of the class? So this would be where the instructor is modeling or going through the assignments up on the screen. And then generally speaking, the instructor is still the only one talking, right? But students are sort of following along and completing the assignment at the same time as the instructor. What are some things that you might be able to do during that time? I'll give you a hint. Most likely during the I do, it's okay for you to be sitting. When we get to the we do, it might be helpful to do something else. What could you do during the we do? So at this point, the expectation is that the students are doing the same thing as the instructor.
So I was in like the integrated disability studies
Yeah.
and for all of them, I pretty much always was just roaming around.
Yep.
Like you're always just checking in with everybody.
Yep.
So that's what I would do for that one.
Generally speaking, thank you, Rachel, right? Generally speaking, this is when, during the we do, is when you can just get up, start walking around. You may not even have to do anything, right? But if I see that, see a name tag here, Steffi here, if I see that Steffi's on her phone or doing something else, and I, like, let's say she were doing it right now, if I walked over here and didn't even stop what I was doing, but kept talking and just sort of got in closer proximity to Steffi without hopefully breaking any COVID rules, right? Steffi would probably stop what she's doing. So it could be that all you're doing is just walking around. Students will see that, and that's a little cue to them. Hey, I'm going to stay on task here, right? Or in walking around, students might be more apt to raise their hand or, give you one of these. Hey, I don't really want to raise my hand for help here, but I'm going to try and subtly indicate that I could use a little assistance, right? And so you just walking around lets them know, hey, I'm here to help, and or hey, nudge, nudge, make sure you're following along here, okay? So really, I won't even get more into it than that. Just walk around, check in for students. Generally, that's a good expectation for you to do during that time. Same thing during you do. Circle around the room. Student raises their hand, asks for help. That's a time for you to help out. Okay. Okay. Before I hop into this, does anyone have questions about sort of the UI Reach class setup, or anything that I've covered so far? Rachel, have I missed anything?
No.
Big? Okay. All right. All right. So what we're going to do here in a moment, I will pass out. So I've got some QR codes that you can scan on your phone if you want to do it today and indicate your availability or classes that you want to sign up for. I have some paper copies, and then we'll also email that link out to if you need to think about it for a little bit. But you're going to sign up for a shift, essentially. And so we're going to have you start on the week of September 27th, which will give 10 weeks. That means there's 10 weeks of classes left. And so you will have 1 hour per week for those last 10 weeks at a designated time that you will attend a UI Reach class as a volunteer and support individual. That hour will be the same every week. So it's never going to change unless you have a conflict for some reason. We would really like if you're able to stay with that same hour. But if you have a 1 week conflict and you need to attend a different class, we can do that. But that hour will stay the same for you each week for the rest of the semester. Next week, I will ask that you either sign up today before leaving would be super helpful so I can start to slot you in. The sooner you sign up, the sooner I can let you know where you will be placed. But if you don't complete that today, please try to do that by the end of the week, because I would like to, by early next week, make sure that all of you have your placements so that you know which class you will be in. And then your other expectation is that by, I believe the 24th is next Friday, 10 days from now. So that'd be about next Friday. Yeah. Is just to email. So when I email you your placement, I will let you know the time, the day, the classroom, and then also the email of the supervising instructor. And so all I ask of you is to shoot that person an email, say like, hey, my name is Rachel. I'm completing the UI Reach TLC track, and I'll be volunteering in your class for the next 10 hours. That, they'll all know because I'm going to send it to them, right? But this way they have your contact information and you sort of initiated that contact with them, okay? The instructor may respond to you and let you know, hey, nice to meet you. It'd be great if you can arrive 5 or 10 minutes early on your first day, and they can sort of give you any real quick need to knows, like this would be a good place for you to sit, or here's how this class operates for the first day. You can just sit and hang out, get a feel for things, help out as needed. And then we'll talk a little bit more about what your expectations will be, okay? So they should give you some early guidance on what to expect and what to know for that class. Rachel, what class were you in?
I was in like a bunch. I did health. I was in
Oh.
health, and then I had one with Aaron. It was just like a career skills class.
Yep, for exploration.
It was super great. Get your certificate. I loved that class.
So most of our students that are in 4967 often say that it was their favorite class they took in all of college. So I know I was
I
trying
would say
to,
that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good class.
I know I was sort of marketing it earlier, but I do think that you will enjoy your experience. All of our students are super fun most of the time. But I think you'll have a great time. So, and you'll find, I know like your first week of classes here or second week, or maybe even 3 months in, you go on your classes and it's pretty quiet. Like people are on the phones and people aren't talking to each other, right? A lot of our students like to talk to each other. So you're going to find, I think, that the environment is pretty welcoming, and that you're not going to have to be nervous about like not fitting in or helping out or feeling like they don't want you to be here as a helper. So I think it'll be a super great experience for you all. So expectations, I'm going to keep it pretty brief. Your expectations are that you show up, so be there every time. If you have a circumstance where you're not feeling well, right? We're sort of in a different environment with that whole thing, or you have a conflict on a week, talk to your supervising instructor. If you are, for example, I'm guessing, if you are available on 9:30 on Tuesday to do a class, just based on how UI classes work, you might be available also at 9:30 on Thursday. So if you have to miss a Tuesday, they might be able to say, yeah, you can just come to the Thursday section, right? So just talk with them. Almost all of our instructors teach multiple classes, so they could just help you coordinate a different class to attend if you need to make one up. If they don't have an option for you, you can email me and I will help out with that as well. So show up, help out, do some of those things that we discussed, have fun and learn, right? So this is, it's something you have to do, right? But I do think that if you are open and sort of take away some of the experiences from this, it will in some way change the trajectory of some of the stuff that you're learning here and what you're hoping to do in the future. So lastly, you are a peer to these students, and we go through a decent amount of discussion with them, say, okay, yes, you're the same age as these students, or in some cases older than some of these students, right? They're a helper. And so you can treat them as a peer, as a fellow college student, but also if they're asking you to do something, we expect that you work with them on that. And so that we're just respectful to each other. So one thing that I do ask of you is that you model good behavior. I don't give a dress code or anything, but it's helpful, right? If you're modeling good behavior in all aspects, we wear a mask and things like that. Our students haven't been great about wearing masks, so the more peers they see doing that is a good reminder for them. But in pretty much all aspects, if you can model the behaviors that college students should be expected to model, that's a great thing for them to see. So I think that's mostly it. I'm gonna skip this because we're about out. We covered most of it. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you for holding your applause to the end. You're very polite. And I will pass out QR codes that you can scan or paper copies if you want to just check the boxes. And it'll look like this, which you'll see here in a moment. They'll pass out. There are a whole bunch of times. So I'm asking, it'd be really great if you could check at least 3. My hope is to get someone placed in most of these sections, so I'll spread you out, right? And so if you can give me more than 1 option, that's super helpful. If you want to give me 10 options, that's great too. If you only have like 1, you're really jammed up, just list on the bottom maybe some other times that you're available, and I can see if I have anything else that might work. Okay. So you're welcome to scan one of these, which I'll pass out, fill out a paper copy and hand it to me before you leave, or I will also email the link to everyone, or Ashley will do it here tomorrow. But if you can get it to me by the end of the week, that'd be great. Anything else? All right, great. Thanks, everyone. I'll just set these here if anyone wants a paper copy. Otherwise, I'll bring around these QR codes if you want to do it on your phone. I believe I tested it out. It's relatively mobile friendly. And it's a link that you can revisit. So if you just want to bookmark it, you can do that too. So. Yeah.
When you're saving these,
Yeah.
your session to start.
The week of the 27th.